My name is Courtney Crowder, and I'm 30 years old. The question I have really relates to, I guess, what was just talked about a moment ago, which was the fact that we do have a new speaker and we do have new leadership in Congress. But could you talk a little bit about the partisanship that's been observed over the last few years, and maybe even, if you don't mind, talking a little bit about the differences between Democrats and Republicans generally?
All right. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Courtney, we couldn't hear you on that last comment.
I said it's a loaded question. Who's going to pull the trigger?
Who's going to start? Mr. Safire, would you like to start?
I think it's a wonderful thing that there is indeed a difference between Republicans and Democrats, or more to the point, between liberals and conservatives. Now, we have this two-party system, sometimes broken into a three-party system, but it always comes back to two parties. And they compete, and the competition it's a pendulum that swings back and forth. And in Congress, for example, it takes 10 or 15 years for congressmen to really learn to steal. And at that point, you'll get a few of them getting in trouble, and there'll be a denunciation of the mess in Washington, as it was called in the Truman era, or the sleaze in a subsequent administration, or what happened this past year, and the pendulum comes swinging the other way. You can't have a one-party life in America to have a real political life. Now, the big question that goes back to a question about blogs that was asked earlier. Where does this partisanship, which is a good thing, spill over to hatred and the dark side of politics? And frankly, the blogs, which are a wonderful democratic way of having ordinary people express themselves, also has the dark side of letting anybody libel anybody else. And you get people quite upset about the anger that you see on the internet. So you can't do anything to forbid that anger. You can contain it by a certain civility. And the wonderful thing is, over the course of 250 years, we've had these vicious attacks on each other, and the pendulum has swung, and people who talk about a middle way and a diminution of this violent hatred, they win. And so we're going through a period now of move to the center, which is fine, but it won't stay in the center. It'll go one way or the other.
All right, thank you, Mr. Safire. Mr. Sorensen?
Last year, I was asked the question, or Peggy Noonan and I were, almost exactly the same question. What's the basic difference between the two parties?
It's a popular question.
And I hope those who are here tonight, who were here last year, will forgive me if I haven't changed my mind, and I'll give the same question last year because it was short and to the point. I said last year, basically it boils down to Republicans have always cared more about property, and Democrats have always cared more about people.
Democrats have also cared more about slogans.
Thank you very much. Well, I think one thing is apparent is that we can't have a Republican and a Democrat, compare notes and argue and also, poke fun at each other, but in good spirits, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the demonstration that you've given our young people today.